Police officers of Reddit, what's the creepiest disappearance case you've ever been assigned to? Not a cop, but I track missing persons accounts for a bank in coordination with the police. One day a cop called and said they wanted to track the accounts of a woman who had gone missing at the hands of a dangerous trafficker. The last transactions I could trace since she disappeared was at one of our branches. I pulled the footage and the trafficker was pulling a bunch of money from her account. I received an alert the next day from the account stating that a purchase was made. The purchase was from a hardware store. Shortly after, the next purchase was for a carpet cleaner rental. Needless to say, cops contacted us and says they suspect he killed her, but they couldn't locate a body. Irked me. Felt like I had witnessed a murder through simple financial transactions. Not a police officer, but my granddad was. He was a part of the police force in the 60s till the early 80s. Sometime during the 70s he was assigned to a missing persons case that had been ongoing for a while and had actually been reassigned due to the lack of new evidence. Him and his partner spent months on the case fighting for it to stay open. One day they went and searched the missing person's home again. It caused a lot of uproar with the family as they hadn't really moved his things or been into his home since the case had gone quiet. Anyway, they got permission almost a month after asking and found a handwritten receipt for a car in his bathroom bin. God knows why his bins weren't searched before unless it was just missed. They managed to track down the guy who sold him the car. He said that the missing person had mentioned that he was going to store his car in a garage till he had the money to insure it. He even gave them the name of the town he said the garages were in. They went to the town and got search warrants for every single rentable garage, even though they had no evidence he had ever rented one. After a couple of days they found the car with the guy inside it. Apparently, his body was almost mummified because of the lack of sun, air and moisture. I can't imagine what the smell was like. But they think he accidentally killed himself while trying to do some work on the car. He would have had the garage door closed because his car wasn't insured. He didn't want anyone to see the car and steal it. It was stored in a rough neighborhood where the garages were cheap to rent. He also paid cash in hand, so he never had any receipts. So yeah, he died of carbon monoxide poisoning. It's painless and basically you just fall asleep and then you die. He wouldn't have realized until it was too late. The guy was missing for 5 months and he seemed to just disappear for no known reason. My granddad told me this when I was a kid and it really scared me that people can so easily just go missing or die and nobody knows where they are. Still kinda freaks me out. I'm not a cop, but my mom used to be. She was called in to help with a local disappearance. Normal stuff, right? Think again. It started out normal. Her name was Jane, I'm leaving out the last name for legal reasons, and her parents say she left the house one night to go to a party, but the next day, she was gone. Nada. No trace. After searching the whole town, they finally searched the parents' house. She wasn't anywhere. Until they checked the backyard. They saw some misplaced grass and dug it up. Lo and behold, there she was. Dead. Stabbed 28 times in the chest. The mom fainted, as she was out there too, and the dad tried to run. He ended up being the culprit. And so that's the story of why my mom quit. Brandon Lawson. He ran out of gas on the highway in the middle of the night and called his brother to come help him. Shortly after he called 911 and reported that someone had chased him into the woods and that he needed police. Eventually his brother and one police officer arrive at the scene and find his truck abandoned but no sign of Brandon. Brandon calls his brother and says he's bleeding and is 10 minutes away from his truck. That was the last anyone ever heard from him and searches of the area turned up empty. My friend Jenna married a Marine. They both were druggies that cleaned up. They were living on base down south. She posted a huge paragraph on Facebook about how excited she was to apply for jobs, etc. 20 hours later I hear she killed herself. Hung herself from a shower curtain rod with a belt. Now Jenna used to be tiny back in her drug days, but she got kind of fat once they cleaned up. How does a shower curtain rod hold up a body? Just seeing him on Facebook creeps me out. Military takes care of their own. It doesn't look good for the brand of you let all these stories of military husbands killing their wives. I also believe a certain type of man is chosen to be the bulk or pawns in the military. The kind that is so emotionally immature, that he thinks he has the right to kill his wife and get away with it. Something like 20% of veterans end up with a conviction for a violent offense. The chance increases with more traumatic service. They make up 3.5% of the prison population in the UK. I'm not a cop, but when I was in high school a kid in my class went out fishing with his dad one weekend in the bay. They never came back. Searches went on but nothing. Never found any bodies. They found the boat a few weeks later, empty of course. It's been 8 years and nothing has ever been found. It's assumed they fell overboard, maybe in some rough weather, and drowned. They were both avid fishers and could swim. Weird that no bodies were ever found or washed up. Oh no, you reached the end of the video. To see more videos like this one, subscribe.